Hello everyone, in this video we are going to create this animated model using React Native, and we are going to use React Native Animated API for this. So the main advantage or the difference of this model is compared to the model provided by React Native. The built-in model component is that if we use the slide animated type in the model, and if you add a shade background to that model, it also slide in. But here we have managed to slide in only the model content, and the background shade will be fade in to the screen. So let's see how we can do this. Alright, let's get started. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file for our component. I'll name it as model.js. So then here let's create the component. So here I'm going to use a functional component. You can use either functional or class, it's up to you. So let's add our model inside our app.js. Looks alright. So now let's add some UI here. So first of all, our view, I'll add a style object here as container. Here I'll add flex1 and I'll make everything to center. And I'll add a background color so then we can see the model clearly. I'll add a light blue. So here now this view, the style object is the container, so this view is going to be the one that we are going to animate. So inside that view I'm going to create a new view. So this is the view we are going to add all the content. So here I'll add a style object as inner container. So this naming is up to you, you can name as you wish. So here I'll add a width of 70, height as maybe 20, and I'll add a background color as white. Okay, so here instead of flex, let's add width of 100% and height of 100. Looks alright. So here also let's add everything to center, and also a background border radius of 20. Looks alright. So instead of this text, let's add a button. And we can name this as close model, and let's also add a on press event, and I'll name it on press. For the parent component, we can here add on close. Here we can say handle close. Here let's add console log for the moment. Here we can use that prop which is on close. We can use it here. Let's see whether we can get that lock. Yes, it's working. So then now what we have to do is ideally now initially this model shouldn't be shown. So first let's add a button here also inside app.js. Here I'll name it as open model and let's add on press as well. Here I'll name it as handle visible model. So let's use it here. Right. Now here what should happen is we have to maintain a state variable. I'll name it as visible. The name is up to you, of course. Visible. Initially I'll make it false. Just like this, and once we press this button we have to change the visibility to true. So in the other hand, when this handle close function triggers, we have to change the visibility to false. Right. And in the same time we have to add this prop here like this, and let's see, up to now looks all working fine. And then I'm gonna remove this, and here we can use visible as well. So initially, as I said, this model needs to be not showing, so initially this model needs to be in the bottom of the screen in the not viewable area. So for that one, what I'm going to do is what should happen is that here we have to add this transform property, then here translate by. Here we have to add the width, the height of the screen. So to do that I'm gonna use the dimensions API, and from there we can get the height of the screen. Right, so this should come here. Now the model is not shown because it's in the bottom area where the user cannot see. So now even though that we have added this button, it's not showing here. The reason is here for the container we have to add the position as absolute. Now the button is showing, so now when the user press this button, that model needs to pop up and it should slide in to the center of the screen. So how we can do that? So now from here we set this visible to true. So from the model itself we have to handle that one. So what I will do is I will use effect hook. Here the dependency is the visible variable, or rather the prop. So here, if the visible is true, then we have to animate this view, and we have to make the model visible to the user. So first of all, I'm going to import animated API. Then, so now we can't use this like this, the height. So I'm going to use trans y variable, and I'm gonna use this variable to track the position of the this view by using useref. Here the initial value should be the height, because initially the model needs to be in the bottom of the screen. So here then we can directly use trans dot we have to import useref and then trans y dot current. And the other thing is, since we have to animate this view, we have to make it animatable view. Now let's add the animate. So inside the animated API we can use time-in method, and the value is gonna be trans y dot current, and for the configurations to value needs to be 0, because once the visible is true, then the model should comes to the visible area, which is then the height. From the height it should go to 0. Then the duration, let's add 2000, which means 2 seconds. Then is not important, by the way, but anyway I'll add it. We can add is in out is something like this, and of course we have to use the native drive. Then we have to start the animation. Alright, let's see so far how it works. We have to reload first. Okay, now the model appears. Let's add this as 500 duration. Let's refresh again. Looks alright. We have not implemented the animation to the close button. Let's do that now. So when we press the close button, what happens at the moment is we trigger this onPress method. From there we call this onClose prop, and from that we call this parent method, which is handle close. I'll put that to bottom. So here we make this visible variable to false. So then this use effect should trigger again. So in else block we can add this sort of animation here again, and the only change we have to do here is this 2 value. Here we have to add again the height. Looks all right now. Now basically now the model is fine. So the next thing we have to do is the background. So in the beginning you show the model here. So while the model is sliding, we have to add the background shade as the animation type as the fade in, right? So in the other words, while the model is sliding in, the background shade should fade in. So to do that, where we add our next view. For an example, if we add the view here, let's say we add the view here, this is the shade view, let's assume. So in that case what will happen is, once the model this part try to slide in, then the background also sliding. So that's not the expectation. We need that background shade view to fade in. So in that case, we have to add this view outside our main model, something like here. So since now now here we have two main components, we have to add fragments like this, and let's add a style object here as well as let's say outer container. All right, now here let's add the same things like this, and also let's add a background color. For now I'll use the one I have stored earlier, which is this color. You can add any color you want, and also let's add opacity of 0.8 maybe, and see somewhat okay. So here what we have to do is we have to add the position absolute. Looks all right. Let's refresh once. Now you can see when I press this button, it's not pressable. The reason is of this outer container. So we can add this pointer event as none. Looks okay now. Now in the ideal case, this shade background should be invisible at this moment. So we have to make this animatable, and so initially this, now basically what here we have to do is we have to change the opacity. So I'll add opacity here, and I'll remove from here. And next thing is now we have to change this opacity while this animating. So here how we can do that is we can use the interpolation method. So here I'll add background opacity and transy current dot interpolate. Here we can add input range as, now here the transy input range change between initially its height then 0, but since this is the input range we have to add this in increment order. So I'll make like this, and based on that input range, when the transy is 0, then we have to make sure the background shade view is visible. So it should be 0.8. Then the other case it should be 0, which means no visibility on this background shade view. So instead of directly adding this one, I'm gonna use this variable here, and we can add extrapolation here as well. I'll add clamp. Looks all right. Let's see. Refresh once. Awesome. Now the background is fade in while the components is sliding. Looks all right so far. So you can see here now we have like repetitive things here, the same code. So let's try to make it simple by adding a new function, naming start animation maybe. Right, So instead of using this, let's add this part, add here, and then the only change we have to do is this value, to value. So I'll add it as the parameter. Then here, if visible, we call start animation and the true value should be 0. Then else, start animation should go to height. Let's see how it works. I'm gonna remove this part, refresh, looks alright. Now our code is simple, easy to understand. So this is the basically what we promised from this video. So let's do something else. Now this model only shows, or rather animate from bottom to center. So let's add another type where it could animate from top to center. How we can do that? So first of all, let's add this duration as well, and we can get that from the props like this. I'll add 500. I have to save model, refresh, still working fine. So instead of these 3 props, I'm gonna add a new one. Let's add options. For the moment we have only the type slide, and the important part here is the, let's say it's from means where this component gonna slide in. So I'll add top. So here now we only consider the bottom part. I mean we consider the animation happens from the bottom to center. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use our options prop, and here I'm gonna use options dot from. If it is top, then we have to use minus height, because if it is top, then the model should be in the top, so it should be minus height, otherwise it should be plus height, right? So far all good. We have that weird thing, so we'll fix that. So even though now it is top, still you can see it's coming from the bottom. We have to do some changes. So here also we have to do a small change. So the visible is true, then it should go to the 0 position, then that's fine. We don't have to do any change here. So here we have to do a small change. So here we have to again use this one and put it here. Alright, still we have a problem now. The reason is here. We have to change the background shade opacity. So looks like we have to again use the same kind of thing here. So instead of repeating the same thing, let's add a variable start point y, maybe should be point. Here we can use this entire thing and edit here. So this is going to be the starting point in the y-axis. So we can use the same thing here as well. Then it makes very easy to understand. and also we can use the same thing here, but there's a problem now. So when the from prop is top, then the height, or rather the start point y will be a minus value. So before I said that the input range should be in the incremental order, so this should fail. See, it's failing because now it should be the decremental order. So in that case we have to do a small change here. So instead of using a variable here, let's add a function. Let's call it generate background opacity. You can name as you want. So here, if the start point is greater than or equal to 0, we can use this one. We can remove this, we don't need it anymore. So then we can call it here, oops, like this. And else means when we have this top option, we can copy this here, and here what we can do is this should come to first, and this needs to be changed as well. I think it's all good now. Oh no, we have to return as well. Let's see, refresh, looks all right. Let's do a small thing here. Let's comment this and see how it works. Okay, we have a problem. If it is undefined, then we have a problem. Let's add like this and see. Okay, now it's coming from the bottom. If we enable the top option, we have to refresh, then it coming from the top. Looks all good. Now here also we have repetition, so can we do something about that? We have these things changes, so I think it's better we keep it this way. Yeah, that's about it. So I think we have done this animation as we expected. So alright, so let's check how the performance while the animation works. So initially we have a JS frame drop. The reason is let's first of all make it 2000, and here the initial frame drop is because we are calling the button event. We are triggering the button event that's handling in the JavaScript thread. So after that everything is handled in the UI thread, so no JS frame drops, which is good. That's what we wanted. All good so far. So that's about it. So if you like this video, hit the like button and add your comments in the comment section, especially if you feel like there's a better way of doing this. Mention that in the comment section, so then we all can learn together. Share this video with your friends and don't forget to subscribe this channel. And I'll add my GitHub repo in the description, so then you can play around with the code I have done. Yeah. And see you guys soon in the next video.